ask your own question now.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Mike, can you go ask your own question? Go ahead.
Okay. My question is, please, Adamu, I want to know, as you said, that you want Nigeria to transform to productivity. Do you think it's possible to do that with this current constitution?
Okay.
That we're having now? Please.
Thank you very much. Question noted. Obio Suji, can you please ask your own question?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Adamu or Laji Adamu. I just want to say that I've been quite impressed. Your presentation has not only been very insightful, but you have also been very pragmatic, giving us, very pragmatic solutions, something we can actually do. However, it begs some questions for me, and it's also following from what Otumba asked you, and this is specifically this. It appears that there's a kind of disconnect, in my opinion, between the views about restructuring or the views about changing the way our country is presently governed over in the north and in the south. I'll tell you this, it's more or less, I would say that you are about the very first person that I've seen, that I've heard speak so passionately about restructuring in this way. Therefore, the question would be, now, how do you think that we can build that critical mass of presence, bridging the divide between North and South, assuring ourselves that we mean well for each other in order to push for a better Nigeria the way you have outlined? That's one. Two is this. I'm also impressed by the graduated restructuring you suggested or you're proposing here. It's quite an interesting one. However, you will agree with me that there are several challenges, and the challenge is this, that hitherto, no one could mention any kind of restructuring. Until recently, we heard that the Nigerian police is ready to look at community policing, which is a form of restructuring. However, the specific question is, how do you think we can go about overcoming the respective challenges of convincing the present government and subsequent governments to begin to address some of these little issues so that we can achieve restructuring or whatever they want to call it in no time? Thank you.
Okay, so before you go ahead and answer the question, I want to take another question from Abdullahi Mohammed, please. Abdullahi Mohammed, you have the floor.
Okay, good evening all.
Good evening.
What I want to deep in here is, I know Adamu was my schoolmate during the university years. I know how active a person he is. What I would like to ask him is, how could we make it possible for the young generation to lead Nigeria? Because as long as we have the old minds there, I don't feel we're going to have any progress. So how can we make the young generation of his age and like my age to be the leaders of our country? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So you now have the floor, Adamu.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Let me start with the question that Otumba asked about the right people that can enthrone rule of law. And then because without rule of law, you cannot have a country. And that's actually the truth, because the country itself is a creation of the law. So when the law is not taking a role in the affairs of the men in the country, then you question whether there is still a country at all. So, but how do we look for the right people to look for the to be able to enthrone this rule of law? And that is why, if you notice in my presentation earlier, I was talking about political participation as actually the panacea to the change we need. And that political participation is not from somebody from a distance, but from us. And so many people that are connected to us. That is the only way. People like us that share the same ideology, they believe in the Nigerianness and the greatness of the Nigeria as a country of 200 million consumers, and then producing nearly very nothing, So if we can participate in this political process and try to influence and win the election and then get those things and do the right thing, we will have those kind of, we will continue to record this kind of problem. Because the current constituted political leaders have established the current mechanical process within the political system that only produce people like them for their certain interests. What about us? But let me tell you something. None of them were sitting behind the fence and pointing fingers before they get these things. You heard the elder statesman said he was at some point jailed because he was protesting for a political change. And almost all of them faced certain challenges one way or the other before they could be allowed to do the right thing. You must actively and deliberately want to do the right thing. And you must actively and deliberately want to participate to do the right thing to get things done. So, and that is why wherever I have a talk, I always encourage us, the new generation, to participate in the system. We get the new generation's participation into the system, we will have not just 50 at the moment, but we will have more than 1 million at the moment, and then this country is going to be fixed permanently. Once we have the right people at the center, you see now we have the same problem again.
The restructuring has struck you again.
Yeah, exactly, that's me again, you see. So once we have the right people at the center, we will definitely have the right policy, because you cannot have the right system without the right mindset. And even if you have the right mindset, you must have the right skill set to be able to administer this right mindset. And even when you have the right mind, you must still have tool sets with the skill set to be able to use the necessary tool set to administer the right system. So once we agree in this conference today that from now on, we are all politicians in Nigeria, we are going to convince the right people not to be pessimistic, but to be, in fact, to be incurable optimists about the Nigerian state, and that they will fix it. And they will participate in the political process deliberately, have opinion in every subject and every decision taken by our leaders from today. Then I'm telling you, about 2023, this country is going to see something that it has never seen in history. And that's exactly what we here need to commit to today. If we do that, we will have answered ourselves collectively the question asked by Otumba. The second thing again is that proposing to, of course, transform Nigeria back to productivity, that with the current constitution, is it possible? Is completely not possible with the current constitution, because the constitution that concentrated everything at the center is actually not going to allow productivity, especially when the center is being just run by a group of people that are driven by patronage. But there is a solution to this. The constitution is very porous. Nigerian constitution is one of the most open-ended constitution that every lawyer can win every case anyhow. That is why sometimes you see somebody would jail for life, and suddenly he will back and then will be given almost more than what he has stolen, you know, because the constitution is actually porous. And people like us that are actually enlightened have studied extensively and understand. Some of us are lawyers, deep level constitutional lawyers that understand how to manipulate this system and then transform it into the right thing to be done. That is why we need to participate. I'm still coming back to the participation angle. We have to participate, because if we do, we are going to get everything done. The porosity of the constitution gives us opportunity to be able to create graduated policies that can transform this country into productivity. Take, for instance, two places, I mentioned them earlier during my presentation, are actually the greatest places. When we pay attention, we are going to put the country back to productivity, and if we don't, we are going to let the country to be consumer driven. Central bank and the central bank and the NMPC. Those two places are actually the key places that this country is not getting the right policies that's supposed to change us either to productivity or the consumer. Central bank is the receiver of the dollar. NMPC is what takes the dollar out. But oil is an international commodity. Why will Nigerian state still continue to sell oil under the table, like oil wells under the table? No matter how transparently you put the oil industry is still an international industry. So why am I going to buy a different price for fuel in Nigeria, different price compared to what is obtainable in a global economy, when it's everything around the supply chain, from the labor to the resources to material, to production, to consumption. It's supposed to be international, but unfortunately in Nigeria, because we want to please the few, we now call it oil subsidy. We create a fuel subsidy. We subsidize for very few, transform huge amount of our budgetary resources in the pocket of few people, and then leave our infrastructure to suffer. And when they ask us, we say we are subsidizing for the poor. And you don't understand who is actually the poor. So you have to liberalize NNPC. You must not necessarily sell it. You can make it like a state-owned enterprise. The same way you have China doing SEOs everywhere, and it's been working. So you can make it like a state-owned enterprise. When you make it a state-owned enterprise, you can trade with it provided you put the necessary transparency and accountability systems within the operation of NNPC. And then you can now list it on global stock exchange. You don't have to keep NNPC under the pen and paper of the presidency. You have to put it in the market because NNPC is supposed to go to market to bring money, revenue into the country. So if you liberalize NNPC and make it to be part of global stock exchange where you receive high amount of dollar, you now can use this dollar to invest in your infrastructure. Because the problem we have in Nigeria is not laziness, it's actually the connectivity infrastructure. The man sitting in Kano is constantly going to Aba to buy things. The man sitting in Aba is constantly going to Zamfara to buy things. But to connect and do these things is always a very big problem. And Nigeria itself, as a foundation of the country, is an economic entity, it's not a political entity. We have diverse identity, diverse religion, many things, you know, and you now want them to have one same political setting. It's not likely going to work, but they can economically work together because the larger the market I have as a Nigerian, the more the incentive I have to stay in Nigeria. If I'm living in Akwa Ibom State and my market is 200 million Nigerians, why do I want to look for another country? Because I want to sell and become richer and bigger. So this is exactly how we need to reconnect the country. We need to build massive infrastructure of connectivity that will bring down inflation naturally and bridge our supply lines. If we succeed in doing that, then we now come back to NNPC and make sure that we did not appoint people that are not risk takers, investors. Because we need somebody in the NNPC that will pay, central bank, that will pay attention to investing in our infrastructure. Most of the incentives should not go to consumption, should go to infrastructure investment. Build road, build bridges, build electricity system stations, build telecommunication network, lay high-level power fiber optic cable so that people can connect and transact like the way we are doing today, and then have a very, very, very stable, interactive, and connected environment. When you do that, you will find out that Nigerians will naturally pick their country. So this is actually where the problem is, and these are just simple areas that sometimes is at the prerogative of the prerogative of the man in power, like the president. You can liberalize these things. You discuss with the with National Assembly, especially in this crisis mode. They'll come and sit down. Oil price is flat. If we don't liberalize an NPC, we're in trouble. They will give you the law. That is why taking advantage of this kind of crisis mode will have helped Nigeria to transform back to productivity, even with the current constitution. Then Mr. Obi asks a question. How do you think we can bridge the gap, like especially within the different diverse in the country? We have the Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, Christian, Muslims, cross-border. When you see people are thinking that way, you know, it all has to do with frustration. Because I can't go to hospital and then the person treating me is Yoruba, and I will not say that I'm not going to be treated because he's a Yoruba man. I'll die. So it's a problem because people are frustrated. People have no need for one another. They're frustrated. They don't connect. Why? Because the system does not allow them to be able to understand the value of one another. The system is caging them as the rhythm of political leaders. A political leader who wants domination from the side, because let me explain to you something before mentioning that. Nigeria is a stock-broken political system. The larger the stock you have in your own geographic region, the better the chances for you to get the largest share of your pie at the center. So the only way to gather my stockbroker is to sensationalize my relationship with them by telling them that you are not a Muslim, don't even listen to them, you are not from the north, you are not from the south, you are not a Christian, you are a Christian. this God has done this for us, all those kind of things. So this is where we have the problem. The problem is stockbroking. Those senior citizens understand exactly what they need to do if they truly want to fix the country. But they cannot do that. Why? Because the system is designed that even ministerial appointment, if you want to get from your region, there is some level of political votes that you are supposed to present before you can be able to sit and discuss and negotiate. So this is where the problem is. So for us to bridge this gap is not to worry about the political side of Nigeria, is to pay attention to the economic side of Nigeria, bridge the supply lines, liberalize the key institutions like NNPC, give complete autonomy to CBN, channel them to invest in the resources, make sure that all the marketing nodes are connected. When I was contesting for the president, I identified about 9 economic zones in Nigeria. In the triangulated format, you can have 3 triangles. You can have energy triangle. You can have the energy triangle in the area of the shorelines that we have from Bayelsa or from Delta State down to Akwa Ibom and even to River State, so across River State. Then again, you can have the market triangle, which is from the southwestern part of the country, especially Lagos, Then you can also have the production triangle within the hinterland from the southeast up to the north. And we have a very long river that connects us together. All you need is just to drain, to be able to drain this river and allow movement of goods from Atlantic Ocean into the riverland, over River Niger, up to the hinterland. You have solved a lot of goods transporting from the ocean down to the river. And then you expand the port facilities. You can't have port in Lagos only. You have Calabar, you have several places in Akwa Ibom, you have in River State, you have even in Fukados, and even Nembe in Bayelsa State. Why don't we have some port facilities there? Those places are even very close to River Niger. And from River Niger, you can carry goods on top of this water and then take them into the hinterland. And it's almost 8 times cheaper to transport on sea, on water, than on land. So that will naturally bring down inflation because the cost of goods is going to go down significantly. Most of the cost of goods in Nigeria is associated with transportation. If you troubleshoot this system, I had opportunity to read from one McKinsey report. The reason why they don't get the fruits they need in Nigeria, they have to import from South Africa, is because we don't have good infrastructure network that will make them to get into places like Benue State and pick the fruits that they already have in abundance to take it to where they used to manufacture in Ogun State. That's Chi Limited. They will have to import most of them from South Africa. Why? Because of lack of infrastructure. So it's cheaper to import goods from South Africa. Sometimes it's even cheaper to import from China than to import from Kano. You can imagine this kind of confusion. So if we do that, we are going to solve these problems completely. And Nigerians will not have any reason why to ask whether you're Yoruba or Hausa or Igbo. Look at Lagos, it's a cosmopolitan town. Nobody cares about where you come from. Provided we are exchanging value with each other, we can be anything. Like I went to Lagos as a Fulani man who has no experience in Lagos market, but I'm a technical professional in IT. And the first job I got was from nobody, but an Igbo man. The second job I got was from an Akwa Ibom man. The third job was from a Yoruba, and I keep getting jobs from different people that doesn't care about my identity or where I come from. All they care about is that this guy can deliver, and I want to give him what I need to give him. So that's exactly how this country can be fixed. Until you connect the markets, you will always have political leaders taking over. Until you bring about economic leaders to take responsibility in shaping the country, you will always be left at the mercy of political leaders, and political leaders are stockbrokers of sensation. They will sensationalize, crack our heads, win power, and abandon us. After 4 years, they come back with sensation again, crack our head, win power, and go back. And we should. Yes.
Oh, God. Thank you. Thank you. I think that is done now. Let me take the second part of that question. Yes. I hope while I'm asking this question that NEPA does not do what they. So if that happens, you might not be able to write them down. So I'm going to take the first question from Ayola. Ayola, please ask your question. Then Mr.
Mazis, okay. If you don't mind.
Ready. And Bello.
Mazis, okay.
Sorry.
Mazis, okay. If I may make a suggestion, we our time is almost running out now. We've had a lot of people raising up their hand. Is it possible to ask all of them, because some of them may not necessarily be questions, just for one minute, ask their questions or whatever they want to say, and then we'll have our guests respond to them if time permits.
Okay, so we have 6 people now, so please no more than this. Ayola, you have the floor.
Honorable Adamo, I want to commend you for the fantastic presentation. We call it WAP presentation. And though I disagree with you, I have some I differ in some of your perspectives, though, which talking from my own experience across Netherlands, Scandinavia, US, and UK. You know, however, the issue of restructuring does not mean, to me, again, my own perspective, does not mean nepotism. It's just for people to take control of their resources, because at the heart of what we're talking about is this restructuring is resource control. And if we can learn from so many countries, the Scandinavians, the Switzerland, and all, it will be more easier for us to move forward, because most of your ideas are quite fantastic. But for how long are we going to continue this way, taking it gradually, you know, before we get there? We're already getting to our grave. Don't let us deceive ourselves. I don't deceive myself. I'm very pragmatic sometimes. I contested election, the last election, as you try to do, but I was home, contested and everything. And you know the way it is. We don't have a political party. We don't have political leaders. And if you listen attentively to our elder statesman, he said right from the get-go, there was mistrust, you know, between the north, the east, and the south. There was mistrust. And who are these people? You know, we are talking about, they are still talking, going back to the old 1963 when we are in the 21st century. You know, I think my question is this. Given the fact that a lot of these presentations have been made everywhere and here and there, how, in the real sense, can we really move forward, apart from individual participation in this political terrain? Because we cannot really separate what is happening. You know what I'm saying? They are both connected politically and economically. We can't dissociate political issue from the center of all these activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then bringing in Bello Nagogo. Bello, you have the floor. Bello Nagogo. Okay, Bello Nagogo. Then Honorable Ejiofor Egwuatu. You are on, Honorable Ejiofor Egwuatu.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Please, I'm very grateful to Alhaji Adamu. Adamu, I must commend your very brilliant presentation. I've been a member of the House of Assembly. I've contested other elections too. And I want to agree with you on this issue of participation in democratic processes. It's only when the ant that eats the vegetable must have to live within the vegetable. And so it is only when we participate in these processes that we can bring about the right people that will make the right changes. But I have a problem. The problem is from the north now. You appear very, very, very sensitive to this issue. How many people in the north are well experienced like this? How many people are well focused like this? How many people can stand with you on this from the north? Because if you come to National Assembly and drop any issue on restructuring, definitely a lot of votes will go north or south and not on ideas. So there is need for you and every other person who is as enlightened as you are to educate the masses in the north. It is very important that they understand who should hold positions and why such people should hold positions, and not a matter of somebody coming to share whatever mega thing and person is allowed to hold post. I believe so much that we have the leaders we deserve. If we feel we don't have credible leaders, we must fight hard, do everything possible to get credible leaders. Once we allow people to lead us without knowing who they are and what they want to offer, they will always lead us astray. So what is it that you can do about the North, especially the youth in the North? I don't want to use any of those terms that they used to describe youths in the North. I did my youth service in Kano. I can tell you that a lot of people do a lot of things to win an election, and you see a swarm of people. In the next 10 minutes, there are buses filled up with people without any idea of what they are there to do. They just come in there and do anything whatsoever to put people in power. What are you doing to educate such people and get them out of that place? We are doing quite a lot here in the South. We are doing quite a lot about it. And so what really do you think you will do or you are doing
Thank
about
you very
it?
much. Thank you, Honorable Egwatu. Please, can I have a very simple plea here. When you are given the floor to ask your question, please, we are overrunning with time. Can you make it very short and snappy? I'm bringing in Ezeluche. Ezeluche, please ask your question. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just have two issues to bring to the knowledge of Honorable Adamu. And one is the issue of restructuring has been collapsed into just one question: who is a Nigerian? Because if you address this issue, if you answer this issue, the whole essence of restructuring is taken care of. If we agree that a Nigerian is anybody, any Nigerian, wherever he is a Nigerian, is entitled to the same benefits as all Nigerians, I don't think there will be much, and the clamor for restructuring will almost die away. So do you agree that if we agree on that, quests like the ones being made by the current Buhari administration, that any Fulani from wherever in West Africa is a Nigerian, there have been comments of that nature. That is what causes the problem. If we say that any Nigerian from Sokoto, from Akwa Ibom, from Osun State, anywhere in Nigeria is a Nigerian, we won't have any problem and can benefit from the system. So once we have that, there will be no issues. But when you have a very porous definition of Nigerian, of who a Nigerian is, then you have the problem. People will always clamor for people will always make mistakes as to what it means to restructure. And the second issue, which nobody has addressed, I mean, when we talk about Nigerian problems, even just across Africa, we think it's only internal. The problem of Nigeria emanates even from outside our shores, from the colonial masters. The only country in Africa that has been able to avoid these colonial issues is Rwanda, because they fought a war, very bloody war, and then Ethiopia because it has remained virtually uncolonized. But Nigeria, Ghana, or you name it, we are suffering the vestiges of the colonial masters. The colonialists wanted to impose some people to rule over the system when they were going, and they made sure that the people that they put in charge would always cut to their benefits. That is why those who even rule us in this country, when they take actions, you get shocked, because no true born Nigerian will do some of these things they do. But because they are not so even hearkening to the needs of Nigerians, but rather to the colonial overlords, that's why we have this problem. So can we address this issue of how to fence off these colonial overlords, because they still have a crippling effect on our history? So those are the two issues I want to raise. One, can we agree that a Nigerian is any Nigerian and not just any person who strays into the country's territories? And then two, how do we address the issue of the influence of colonial overlords? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So once more, I am making this point again. Please make it 30 seconds. Reverend Canon Ikem, you have the floor. Please make it snappy.
Thank you very much. I want to start by commending the contribution of Adamu, because I want to be very slow as directed. I want to find out what is his opinion on what are the things I feel that put the post area of kind of into trouble. Much as I give it to him, he has a lot of ideas about what to do with Nigerian state. I don't quite agree with him that the North is not benefiting from this system. when the person of no mean personality like the deposed emir said clearly, looking forward to a time where the quota system in Nigeria should be brought down, which are part of the structures that were put in place by the colonial masters, as Eze has just pointed out. A situation whereby you come to the table in Nigeria and you are coming from advantage position because of the part of Nigeria you come from. Whether you like it or not, it's very clear to all of us that some are more Nigerian than others in this nation. And things will continue that way. I feel that for me, issues of restructuring to be seriously looked into. You can't have Nigeria run the way it is going. You can't get far with it. Having said that, I just wanted to get his opinion on what Salisu said, that Nigeria of today, there are people who are more Nigerian than others, and you can't continue to forward to a situation whereby a time will come when you're not identified or given any position or slot in Nigeria because of where you come from, but on the basis of quality and what you have to offer. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And the last question this evening is going to be from Comrade Obinna Ogwebu. Obinna, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. I hope I can be heard.
You're live and clear.
Sorry, I'm coming into this program late. In fact, I'm still on the road. I just parked by the roadside to be able to speak. I want to commend I just want to make observation and commend all our speakers that have graced this forum to be able to, because some of them have very strong opinions on some of the issues we are discussing. But I, for one, is an observation, and I want us to try to live here with certain set mindset. We need to give each other a chance in this country. Mm-hmm. The point is that we cannot get up from where we are unless we extend that hand of fellowship and try to drag me out. Let me disappoint you. I know there's a lot of distrust as I've been stated by the elder statesman, but sincerely, we need to try and carry everybody along. Let me give Mr. Adekunle an opportunity. And who can do all these things? We are all the next, that generation actually that should drive the processes of Nigeria. Let us try to reach out through this forum to one another and see. I believe in the Nigerian project. Why do I say so? Countries that have broken into bits and pieces in this manner of whatever fragmentation have never gotten through successfully with it. I mean, on a scale of 1:10. So we can do better. We are feared. We are respected globally, even by America, by the strength of the Nigerian spirit. I would want us to keep discussing. I would want us to try to engage one another. My best friend in this country today is a Kano boy. You know, I don't have any regrets about it. Not because of anything, but because of true friendship. We can continue on that pedestal. I want us sincerely to make progress from this forum. We need justice. There's no doubt about that. Justice for everybody. But then we must start electing good leaders. People that we can call to question. To stop electing people and allowing ragamuffins to keep driving the process of governance in Nigeria. Even in my own local government, it is the case. We will complain. Election time comes in, we don't even support that person that we know is bringing capacity. Thank you. I want to encourage us to continue on this platform. It's a very, very good initiative, and Nigeria can be saved from this platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Obinna. And I would give now the floor to Honorable Adamu to basically react to all these questions. I hope you wrote most of them down. If that is the case, the floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mazi. I will start with Honorable Ayola's suggestions of idea of restructuring, like the way we have in Scandinavia, and also like the economic and political system cannot be separated; they will have to remain together. Yes, I quite agree with you that restructuring is something that is needed. I think most of my statements here has been the restructuring. I just do not believe in a one-shoot process. I believe in a gradual, hybridized and process of getting the country properly restructured, because I also believe it doesn't work for many people. So, but the Scandinavian model is fantastic, but it will have to take time. And Scandinavia, if you notice their history from Vikings, down to the way they come from, they have been restructuring from the beginning, from the larger empire, which is called Scandinavia, down to many other smaller countries. And within these countries also, they now begin to decentralize much more further. So they have taken a history over a long period of time before they achieved what they have achieved. And they understood that there must be pragmatic interest management before you can be able to achieve these things. And they did that, it worked. So it can quite work, but of course you have to really, really take a very pragmatic approach to the current process, especially with the heavy politicization and the mistrust created around the word restructuring. So something has to be done in a graduated way to be able to get the country restructured. That's actually what I believe. And I agree with you quite all right, that you can't separate the politics from the economics part of the country. But this also emanates from our evolution of the political development in Nigeria. Like if you look at our political party systems, we don't even have ideology governing the way they work. Now, what is it? Who is me as a member of APC? Who is you as a member of PDP? What is the ideology that attracted me towards APC? Is it fighting corruption or fixing the economy? Can this thing rightly be said about ideology that is going to bond me and my family into a political party? So it's a problem. We have to create the concept of right and wrong within our system. No, the concept of right and left, like the way we have in the advanced countries, because that's the only way you can evolve a purely naturalized democracy. And you have to separate people that believe in justice and equality from the people that believed in order and stability, like the Republicans and the Democrats. So the Republicans believed in order and stability. That's why whenever they come to power, you will see them pushing for order and a more stable economy and more stable operating environment. While if you have the Democrats coming into power, you will see them focusing about equality, justice, like gay rights and stuff like that. So we must have a reason why we are associated with a certain political party. Now, but in Nigeria, the political systems are not this way. So we now have an idea. Do we create a separate system away from the new system, or do we go into the existing system and dilute it? So this is also one of the approach that can only be done when we have this kind of conference most regularly, discuss and look at the pros and cons and see which is the best way forward for political participation. But at the center of it all should be economic liberalization and the market opening for the Nigerian public. Once you do that, you solve the identity problem that we have in this country. And the other question here is about what do we do to educate the North? I campaigned for like a year and a half. I started campaigning, I think, in 2017, and then rounded up somewhere in September 2018 when the price of the form is expensive. And I couldn't go and use my business money to buy the form. But I can tell you this, I have learned something about the North. I had been away for a longer time because I had been living in Lagos since 2006, and I hardly come to my homestead to spend more than 2 weeks, throughout this period. So, but during the campaign, I was able to go back into the North, and I came to understand that the North, where I am today, is in more dire need of political change that is going to enable them to be the best they are than even any other part of this country after my movement throughout the country, but did not have no one that want to listen to them at their own level. You will see somebody will go to Cambridge, somebody will go to Harvard and graduate because he's the North, he's bearing the banner of being a Northerner. He will not begin to talk on behalf of larger amount of people that hardly even finished secondary school. So they can't understand him. So there's issue of trust between the followers and the leadership. So at the end of the day, the only thing that makes the followers to vote leaders is hardly about ideology. It's mostly about what I can get during a day of election. And people voted for Buhari overwhelmingly in the northern part of Nigeria because of one thing. They believe he's the last cat, and they believe he's sincere, and they've been following him all through to make sure that they have him in the system to fix the country. It means that they are tired. Voting Buhari is a protest against the established northern leaders. This is something that you want to look at it. You need to look at it from that angle. If you check the history of Buhari's election from 2003, none of these political elites were backing him because they don't accept his ideology at all. They have to follow him now because of circumstances, situational circumstances, not really because they actually believed in him, most of them. But the people of the North voted for him out of protest for a complete change. Of course, whether disappointed or not disappointed, the issue is someone have to be trusted and someone have to understand the problem that is facing the people, connect with them, and then that is the only way they will listen to you, understand you, and accept your own viewpoints in the way you do things. So what I do is, I've joined so many northern political organizations, and anywhere I have opportunity, I talk. Go to media, talk, encourage people to come and sit together, join them in different meetings and discuss, and I also promote my own personal life story. As someone who is coming from an Almajiri background, you know, and was able to go and then study a little bit of IT, went to Lagos and established a business that is now having 5 businesses under 5 companies under that business, and then building successful technology platform and addressing very high-tech service delivery in the market. Despite the fact that I scavenge in the street, move to the rivers, and then go to scavenge in the bush, sell rafters, aluminium in the market, go and cut bush to go and sell, like every other street child in the north, then it is possible for each and every person. But it should not only be by following politicians, it is also possible by believing in yourself. So they need to understand this, and that is actually the principal thing that I and so many people within my team are constantly doing. We are promoting ourselves as them, as part of them, passes through the same systems with them, not belonging to the elite class, you know, but have graduated to join that team through sheer effort, commitment, dedication, and focus. They can also do it. So they are listening and they are understanding. And that is the only way you can allow the North to buy not just restructuring, but anything. Because it's an environment that is designed to be loyal to the person they trust. So once they trust one person, they will follow that person without questions. So that's exactly what we are doing. We are doing a whole lot of education. If you see me even on social media, talk a lot of the physical environment I've been moving. Even on social media, I made my life practically public, simply because these people have to understand that it is possible. It's not about becoming an SA or to join government work before you can succeed, or to make sure that you have control of government. No, it's also about you. So we are doing a lot about that, and God willing is going to yield a lot of results. Then another question about this, who is a Nigerian? That there are some people, like the Reverend asked, that there are some people that are actually more Nigerian than others. Of course, it will always be the case if we continue to listen to political stockbrokers. People that have no plan, people that have no design, no understanding of a model statecraft that is going to push this country to productivity. They will always come and sensationalize us. And once they get the power, the people that are against or for certain group of people will naturally be favored against those that have lost the election. It's like a war. Because the Nigerian election is being contested as a war, because we don't have guiding ideology. There is no humanity. There is always winning power. So until you have leaders that are driven by conscience, by belief in the values of humanity and the impossibility, you know, of dealing with human spirit, you cannot be able to get the right system that is going to be shaped in the right way. So, and the only way to do that is to allow new political participants into the game, into the place. Then from there, you can be able to produce the finest of the leaders that will want to first consider humanity. Then second, use his mindset to be able to have the right team members to channel Nigeria back to productivity. And of course, the influence of colonialism is also very, very significant. But to treat colonial masters like people that you may want to I believe the only way to treat colonial masters is to be very pragmatic. The entire global system, international system is divided into hawkish and the dovish group. You have people that are dovish, that like peace before they can invest. You have people that are hawkish, that they invest on instability. When there is crisis, they make more money. So it depends on what we want to attract as a Nigeria. Because the colonial masters either come to you to use force to steal your resources or to entice your greed and steal your resources. But they created a system, a law that is governing their own operational process or procedure. What you need to do is to understand their law and position yourself, like Nigeria, for instance, as a dovish inviter. We invite the dovish to come and invest in Nigeria. Of course, we can't deny them abundant resources in Nigeria, but we will also take our share. How do we take our share? What is our priorities, for instance? We already know that in technology or development or capacity, the Western world or the colonial masters have much more than we have. So fighting them is a less, value to us than accommodating them. Accommodating them is a more value for us. But the problem is, what are we bringing on the table when we call them? Now, if you are interacting with, for instance, countries that are governed by the UK, let's say South Korea, for instance, which is under American and the UK, or Hong Kong, which is under UK, or maybe even the United Kingdom, what are you bringing on the table as Nigeria? Like now, if you look at most of our designers, we import them from UK and France. But those designers are meant from low-income countries like Bangladesh and this Tamil Tiger country, Sri Lanka. Now, we are also part of Francophones. Why can't you set up these production machines in Nigeria? What if we create a policy framework that makes sure that all the designers that we import in this country, especially major designers that we import in this country, we have the factory in Nigeria? Okay, we will buy from you. The brand is still your own. The money still goes to you, but we want to produce for you. Instead of you to take it to Bangladesh and then import it back to Nigeria, or to China and then import it back to Nigeria, we also have the workforce. In fact, Nigeria, we have the finest demography. 78% of our population are below, within the working group. They are youthful population. So why can't you come and invest in Nigeria? Bring down your talent, bring down your dollars, invest and hire people in Nigeria. If you are paying $100 per person, we are going to give you 2 people for that same $100, so that we can have more people developing technical skills. That is the way to liberate yourself from colonial masters. That is simply what Deng Xiaoping of China did to them. That's simply what even South Korea did to them. That's what Thailand did to them. That's what even Singapore did. What you need to do is simple. We know you need something from us, but we can give you labor. Yes, we agree it's slavery, but come and do it in our country. Give us the labor. We can begin to build that level. If we know how to stitch and make a socks, or maybe a trouser or a shirt, we can gradually begin to make top level clothes like designer bags and designer shoes and designer belts from within that production done. Before you realize it, we graduate into making high level perfume till we go to precision equipment like cars and so many things from within Nigeria. If we do that, you will end up dictating their foreign policy objectives, like the way China is doing today with the Western world. China today defines where dollar moves. Because if China stops collecting dollar from the United States, you know the consequences of the United States economy. China single-handedly liberated the United States from economic downturn of the 2008 by buying more of dollar in treasury bills to stabilize the economy. While US do quantitative easing, China is also buying the excess of these dollars. And that's what stabilizes US and brings them back away from the recession. Why? Because they employ pragmatic foreign policy objective by trade and trade only as the measure. And that trade is exchange of value for labor. So that's what I believe the only way to liberate ourselves is to have more economic power and more production capacity in terms of skills and capacity. If we do that, the colonial masters will end up coming to us to be able to sustain their economy like they are doing today with China. And I believe that's the only right way to liberate ourselves from colonial masters. I think I must have answered all the questions. Thank you very much.
Daniel Elumba, do you have anything to add?
It's been a very, sorry, hang on.
Why are you echo from your side? I have echo from your side, Dan.
1 second, please. Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Yes, sorry. It's been a very enlightening evening. This is what today's discussion is what our conference is all about, to bridge the information gap between different parts of Nigeria. And I'm sure I'm going away today having learned something from the elder statesman, Alhaji Tanko Kasai, and our fellow young man, Adamu Garba. Thank you very much for gracing our occasion. Hopefully, we will continue to have this discussion next week. Anyway, I think Mazezeke will do justice to that. But we are trying to develop this platform, like many people have suggested, to be a meeting point between people from all sectors of Nigeria, all age groups, 90 years. I'm surprised to learn today that the elder statesman is 94 years, sharing platform with us. So thank you all for coming in, and we hope to see you again next week.